Can I win my own competition? Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max. I have held a competition on my Lizard of Doom Discord, links down below if you'd like to join for future. This competition is a Kitbash and Painting competition, and the 3 winners will be displayed at the end of this video. But I am also entering. I will submit for the vote, which is done by my Patreon members. I've laid down the rules. It must fit on a 32mm or smaller base. There are 4 parts to the Kitbash and Painting. I have asked my Discord members to submit a colour, a theme, a location and a feature, such as extra limbs, big mouth, blind, something like that to do on the model. I have now got 2 weeks, as well as everyone else, to do this. Those suggestions which they have submitted, I have put into a randomizer, so let's find out what this competition is going to be about. Also subscribe, please. So first of all, we're going to be going with the colour. Let's see what we get. Okay, we have got purple. Interesting. And now that we know we're doing purple, what is the theme of this miniature that we're going to be kitbashing? Interesting. Biomechanical. Purple, biomechanical. And now the location that this purple biomechanical thing will be is a dungeon. I feel like that came from someone who made all kind of fantasy suggestions. And we've got sci-fi things. This is going to be interesting. I like that combination. And for the final element, we are doing a special feature on the model. Now there's a lot of like biomechanical limbs, but seeing as we're already doing something similar to that, let's hope we don't get one of those. Go. Okay, two-faced. This is going to be interesting. Purple, biomechanical, in a dungeon, two-faced. There's various ways you could interpret two-faced. Let's see how the people in the competition do that. That is going to be interesting. Now I've got to think about what I have in my decade-old pile of future fun, not pile of shame, that I could make into this. I'm going to have a rummage and come back in a bit. So I had a rummage through my bits and found something I'd like to show you. This body is from a fantasy corn guy from Age of Sigmar. He's got some nice sturdy legs on him. I thought if I chopped him at the waist, it'd be a good start to something. So here is one of those guys' legs, a nice wide stance, very sturdy for a dungeon explorer. Yes, it seems very suitable for my needs. And for a body, I found this old Necron sprue with some of these backs with the cables coming out, very mechanical for my bio legs. These cables connect to one of these guns, and you can see a bit above it here. I've already chopped one off, because I don't want the gun, I just want the cables. I chopped 2 of these backs off in fact, and I sanded them flat on the front, and they fit perfectly together. So I got a bit of glue and stuck them together like so. And also the Necron arm with that wire on it that now leads to some weird round patch rather than a gun was also attached at this point. Once I had attached these, yeah, it's a mechanical body. It needs a few more bio bits up top. And that looks like a torch to me, doesn't it to you? That looks like a high-powered torch. While that dried, I cut a base with a laser cutter on this old bit of Middle-earth strategy battle game terrain. And yeah, it is a nice dungeon floor now, rather than a battered old wall that's sitting at the bottom of my terrain box. So I glued the legs on, and yes, he is creeping through a dungeon now. The top is a bit stumpy when it goes straight on, because there's a rib cage there that doesn't sit straight on your hips, so we needed something in the middle. For this I used electrical wire, inspired by my recent Gundam videos. They use a lot of electrical wire in things for pistons and stuff, so I was going to make some pistons to go in the middle of his body. I would need to cut these to a kind of uniform size, and hopefully they all fitted in here. Luckily these legs had a little hole in the middle, which was a nice little start. And once I had finished this step, it looked like a bunch of McDonald's chips. It was a bit long though. I'd done this on purpose because it would be easier to trim down than build up if I'd got it wrong in the first place. But meanwhile, while that dried, I fitted a tank headlight to the front of this bit, and from the same tank kit, there was a kind of guided missile thingy that fitted perfectly in this Necron backplate. It was exactly the right size. One of those satisfying fit things you see on Reddit sometimes. Yeah, nice. When the McDonald's chips had dried, I test fitted them, and it wasn't bad. I'd done about the right width, but it was too long. So I took a little bit off cautiously, leaving more than I thought I would need, and pushed them back together once I'd splayed them a bit. I kind of liked Creepy Tall. Let me know what you think in the comments. I liked Creepy Tall Torso Man. This is a weird biomechanical robot person thing. Why would it not have creepy tall bits? If you put him next to one of these Blood Reaver Rampager guys, he's not that much taller. I think it works, and I was happy to glue it there and move on to the next bit. A bio arm. He needs a bit more bio, he's a bit too mechanical now. So this is from a Necromunda kit, and it was just a spare revolver I had. I then got some Space Marines grenades and put them over a little bit on his belt where I assume an axe or a chain or something cornate would go into, if I'd built this as the normal model. From there, this Mantic Zombie sprue with all these little heads would be the heads of my miniature. I clipped 2 out, and let me show them to you. This is kind of two-faced in itself, half skull, half flesh. Gonna paint that metal like a Terminator, but just in case that wasn't two-faced enough for you, I'm literally giving it 2 faces. This more dopey head would be wired into the chest of this robot man, giving him double the brain power a normal robot man would have. Now, if that isn't two-faced enough, I don't know what is. He has 2 faces, and one of his faces has 2 faces. Have I taken it too far? Does he now have 3 faces? Am I overthinking this? Yes. I got some green stuff and made some little scraps of material coming up from behind his belt to cover where the pistons joined the body. As this was quite a harsh join, there was nothing blending between the two. And these little scraps of green stuff were enough to give a hint that it was old tattered trousers that had been oiked up around this robot and belted on. Yes, having a little look at that, it seems to have worked quite well, and I was happy with that. Only one thing left to do, and it's give my good boy the admiration he deserves. A little blob of glue. And then you, sir, get one good boy badge from the Emperor himself. Here you go. What a good lad you've been. Daddy Emperor's proud of you. So I may have built this weird monstrosity, so I guess it's time to explain what he is. This is a servitor. He is designed to delve deep into the dungeons and labyrinths beneath hive cities that have been long abandoned and forgotten. His name is Delver 477. Built with a little bit of Xenos tech, but the Mechanicus do get a pass sometimes if what they build is good enough. Delver is a gift to a hive city on an old Imperial planet. He has been very useful to them in finding artifacts and weeding out cults under the ground. They send him in with nothing but a 6-shooter and 2 grenades, and he always comes back. Now it's time to look at painting Delver. Now the colour I've got to use is purple, and I didn't want to just do purple trousers because I wanted to do something a little bit more interesting than that, and I'm always trying to kind of push myself on this channel and try something new. So I've never really done the coloured underspray and then use that as the shadows. So I was going to use purple for the shadows on this model. And that's going to be a bit weird. How about to the end of the paint job, and hopefully the last thing I do ties it in. Chef's kiss. Very nicely. I used an old spray I'd found when I was rummaging around. It was an Army Painter purple primer. I was really worried about it leaving a texture because I remember this old Army Painter recipe leaving quite a nasty texture. It wasn't too bad, and I started working on the skin tones. I built up through the standard Games Workshop skin tones, Bugman's glowing up, to reach something I was happy with, leaving the purple as the shadows. This felt really wrong to me. This was not the way I'm used to painting. Once I highlighted him up, I was getting somewhere I was happy with the skin tone, but the purple still looked off. I trusted the process at this point and hoped that it would come alright in the end, and I think it does. I also put the white in his eyes, and while I was using the white I painted in the torch and also some little lights on that bit on his back there. I thought I might as well while I had the white out. From there I went through the brown flesh tones in Games Workshop. This is a nice colour because it is quite reddy purpley, and the purple undertones suited this a bit better than the Caucasian flesh tones. And I highlighted them by stippling to give a little bit more texture to these otherwise very smooth trousers. I wanted them to maybe not look like leather, but look like, I don't know, some kind of sack material or just some old rags that they put him in. His shoes I did, however, want to look like leather, so I went Mornfang brown and up, using this kind of scratchy highlight method, pulling towards the edge and then doing an edge highlight at the end. The belts I think look good. I missed the back though, so I had to go back and do them. But I wasn't going to do the tips of these belts in metal, as I kind of wanted to ignore that they were chaos symbols. I then got my bone colours out and went up through the bones on the skull, the boot fur, and this little Purity Seals paper bit. I used these colours on all of these to keep it kind of in keeping. I didn't want anything to look out of place, and when you use colours consistently across a miniature like this, it ties in the whole piece of work together. A little bit of bar red contrast paint for the Purity Seal there, just do a quick job on that. That's a very small feature and not very noticeable. And a little bit of Doomfire magenta for the wounds around the edge of his head. Now that's the bio bit done, time for the mechanical. I began with my favourite metallics, the Pro Acryl range, starting with a dark silver and a dark bronze. This was the base colours, leaving the gaps as well. This looked especially odd to see purple through my metallics. I've done this before with maybe a black spray paint, but that just looks like shadows. It felt odd to me to be doing this. I also put black and a little bit of white on the cables at the back there too. I highlighted in a scratchy manner much as I'd done the leather, leaving chips and dings on this metal plating. I wanted it to look like he'd been trawling through dungeons and been through a hell of a lot. This is Delver 477 we are talking about. He ain't no rookie. I mixed a bit of light silver with the bronze to make a highlight for this bronze area. I think that worked out quite nicely. And then I got to painting grey on the dungeon floor. While that dried, I also used the same grey to highlight this black piece of wiring down the middle. And then I put some blue contrast paint over the white wires, which I'd later then highlight with some Cantor blue. I sponged a lighter grey over the floor here just to give it a bit of texture again, making sure this model wasn't too flat and interesting to look at. I added to this floor by using Camo Shade, and I believe it was Agrax Earth Shade I also used to give the tiles some different colour to them. This is an old, dingy place that no one's been for years. Only Delver is brave enough, or stupid enough, to go down here. Now, I was nearly there. All I had to do was put a bit of neon purple on this light, and I hated it. This is Army Painter fluorescent colours. It was not as fluorescent as the last one I'd used, the yellow, so I switched it up for some pink. This was a good choice. This fluorescent pink looks good on the light, and mixed with the purple and the shadows made it look like it was a purple light after a couple of coats. Airbrush is just cheat codes when it comes to OSL. All I've done is a couple of thin passes with Army Painter fluorescent pink, and it's perfect. I really love how this comes out. I made sure to hit the angles that the light is pointing, and also from the glowing eye on the robot side and the glowing bit on his little back segment here. Delver was pretty much done at this point. All he really needed was a black rim on his base, and he was ready for the competition. Here he is, Delver 477, Servitor Extraordinaire, ready to be judged by my Patreon members. At this point I realised that 11 people had put into the randomizer at the start, but only 3 people had actually entered the competition, which was a little disappointing, so we will only have a top 3 at the end of this video. I thought when 11 people put in, 11 people were in it. Now it was time to enter the competition. I
have already entered the competitions, and I now know the results as I'm filming this now. I have said to my Patreons that they could each vote. If you would like to join Patrons, thank you very much, here you are. You can vote on the next competition, which will be starting in a few weeks, and to join the competition, all you've got to do is join the Discord below. There's a little chat bit called competition or painting competition, one of them, and I'll be announcing the random things I'm looking for that competition in a week or two, probably 2 weeks, so you've got a little bit of time to join, and if not, catch the next one. It's time for the competition results. And like your mum, I've come first. Don't shake your head, that was a you were even face palming, that was a good one.
It's not.
No?
No, we're not putting that in.
We are putting
We're not putting that in.
We are putting it in. I win. If you think you can beat me, check out the Discord, join the thing, beat me in the next one. The other two in the top 3 will be featured here. Yes, here. So this is ultimate proof that it is not a pile of shame. It is indeed a pile of future fun. See you next time, kids. Subscribe.